an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, Season 1-ish chapters, episodes 40 and 41. In these episodes, Luffy comes back from the brink of death. Not really, but you know. And Usopp decides to sort of like stop and be like, do I really just want to live my life like this? Oops, sorry guys, I'm getting a spam call, if you can hear my phone ringing. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Guys, I used to have this setting on my phone that if somebody called and I didn't have their number saved, it would just not come through. But I ran into too many issues with that while planning a wedding. So I took it off, and now spam callers are just calling me like 3-4 times a day and interrupting shit in that fashion. And it's really annoying. Anyway, thank you so much, Florian, for commissioning this episode. What's up, Florian? I don't know if you're here. I know that it's late there. But Gabriella, Kyle, and Alex are here. Hi. So I think that these two episodes are the last ones before the finale of this arc. But I could be wrong, you know. I mean, there are a lot of things that in other arcs I sort of thought signaled that the end was happening. And then it turned out that there was like a whole second part of the arc. The reason that I like think initially that it is because of Nami stepping forward and being like, I'm here to put your ass in the hospital. That said, the final boss battle does tend to be more than one episode long. So, you know, maybe it takes another 3. Yet I really can't guess. I shouldn't guess. I shouldn't bother. But I am excited to see that what I was hoping would happen, which is that Nami would get the final say, would be, you know, the Gabriella says it goes until episode 237. Probably. At this point, you know. But I'm really excited that Nami looks like she's going to be the one to settle things. And that is not to say that, like, her friends won't wind up playing a role, or, of course, the townspeople who back her up in the end. But I am glad that we have all of our guys there to take care of some of the mini-bosses. They play a role. They are important. Of course, we also have Luffy back in the mix. I just don't want him to be the primary player. I want him to play a support role for Nami. Basically, if he can hold Arlong in place while she punches the shit out of him and stabs him in the heart, that's all I ask. I'm good with that. I don't know, you know, for some people perhaps that wouldn't exactly count as a victory for Nami if he's literally holding Arlong down. That's fine with me. I don't mind. It's good. Go ahead. So, Alex says it's pretty astounding for One Piece that Sanji and Usopp win their fights in the same episode. Yeah, I actually started to worry about Usopp's a little bit because Sanji had just gone victorious, and I was like, all right, so this means that Usopp can't possibly, but I was wrong. He can possibly. So let's, on that note, start talking about this episode. Proud Warriors, Sanji and Usopp's fierce battles. Guys, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Usopp, we're all Usopp, right? Like, we are. We all want to be Sanji or Zoro. We're Usopp. Most of us are going to do what we can to avoid a fight. and to hide from a person who is trying to do us harm. And in most cases, there is no shame in that. Having a sense of self-preservation is a legitimate way to live, and I fully support it. However, I really appreciate the way this episode chooses to handle it. So what we have, first of all, is that he has made a catch-up star that mimics like that he has bled to death, so that he can fake his death as Duck Lips walks away. Now, setting aside the fact that ketchup does not look like blood at all, and I am really, that trope is everywhere, and I always just am like, what, do you just not, have you just never seen blood before? Like, what are you doing? It's fine. I don't care for this. I just needed to mention that because it's a trope in like live action stuff. In a animated thing, you can make ketchup look like whatever you want. So in an animated thing, you can just be like, yeah, this ketchup looks like blood. And I'm like, all right, fine. Anything looks like anything because you're drawing it how you want. So I accept that. But whenever it's like there's somebody in a movie who's like they faked an injury by just smearing ketchup when in fact, you know, they aren't injured at all. I can never buy that somebody in that like the position of looking at that person would see clearly a like viscous, grainy-ish substance and be like, that's blood. It just never, no, come on, get out of here. Alex says, louder for the lower budget horror films in the back. Oh no. I didn't even think about that being used in horror films exactly. I thought about it being used as like a joke, but do horror films do that? Oh dear. That's not, come on. Gabriella says, he is the normal guy we can all relate to. I hate to make a Whedon comparison, but he is the Xander of the group. Gabriella, you take that back right now. Look, I understand the comparison that you were trying to make there, but Xander sucks so much, and I hate him so much. I hate him more every rewatch. I just really do. Usopp, no, come on. Don't say that. I don't see Usopp mouthing off to a pretty girl and calling her a whore, which Xander does to Cordelia multiple times. Usopp is too much of a gentleman for that. Xander thinks he's a gentleman, but yeah, I really appreciate. Gabriella says, I take it back. Thank you. Alex says, I think of him more as a Sokka. You think of Usopp as a Sokka, not Xander as a Sokka, I'm assuming. Yeah, I feel like Sokka started out as a bit of a Xander, and then he like went left eventually. He wasn't as bad, and he never got as bad. But yeah, I really appreciate that the way the episode decides to handle it is they have him get the opportunity to get out of this. And instead of just treating it like, okay, he's going to get out of this and it'll save his life, and we can all like respect the fact that he just wants to survive, they then turn a corner with it and they're like, we're going to have him consider doing what he does best, lying. And what if he just told all of his friends about this battle and pretended that he won? And like, oh yeah, I had the upper hand and it was pretty close. He wound up getting away. And, you know, it would be disingenuous after everything that we have seen of Usopp to act as if he would just survive and then go back and tell the truth about what happened. He is somebody that we have consistently seen blow a story up and exaggerate and straight up lie. And yet, when we have seen that sort of thing, it has always been in the interest of succeeding in either entertaining or achieving a very specific goal. And usually his goal, at least, his heart is in the right place. So you can excuse his lying on that front because he's just trying to make it so that people will leave his island alone. He's just trying to get it so that he can save folks who are important to him. This, though, he was about to just lie because he wanted to look good. And that's not the Usopp that I have grown to like. I want that to not be a thing that he decides to play fast and loose with at this point. Especially since I want the other characters to grow to respect him more. And if they find out that he's lying, which they would because he is bad at it. Look, I love you so much, Usopp, but you aren't a great liar despite the fact that you do it all the time. You'd really expect him to be better at this. But they would know he was full of shit, and they wouldn't respect him, and they wouldn't feel like they could count on him. And it wouldn't work. It would all go wrong. So what happens here is, I'm sorry guys, if you can hear my phone buzzing, Rashawn is blowing me up on text. I don't know what's happening, but I had to turn Do Not Disturb on again. What they decide to do is they have him sit up, think to him, first he sits up, and Ducklip spots him. And he immediately drops down again in a panic. Then when he sits up, he's like, I feel sorry for Nami and I really want to help her, but... And actually, although I'm covered in fake blood, I want something that shows a trace of deadly combat. If I show up with my body all covered in mud, it may look that way. I'd say something like, sorry, I lost. I love this. Even if he was going to lie, he wasn't going to claim he won. I don't know why, but that just touches me in a way. I just find that sort of adorable. I wonder if, I let that bastard slip away, though I was this close, is better. Or that may not be quite convincing. And then, as he's trying to think up the story, and literally rubbing dirt into his skin in order to make it look good, he starts having some flashes of the various people. So, first we have... we're friends now, aren't we? And he is seeing Luffy. I'd rather die than lose. And he is seeing Zoro. 100 times better than a damn gang that had hurt a lady. And he's seeing Sanji. And as each of these, these faces passes by and these lines pass by, we go back to him saying... another version of the lie. Every memory is motivating him to be more convincing in his lie, but not yet actually making him stop and reconsider the whole plan. And then he gets to Nami and her thinking this is for my business. I have to do this. And he sort of returns to himself for a minute and says, let's see. Oh no, I forgot the brothers get their moment. Do they need any more? Nami was only 10. Do you know how painful a choice that was from her sister? And then the big brothers being after everything Nami went through, does she need any more reason to put her life on the line? And then he sees all of the townspeople saying, let's fight. And he begins to shake. Well, the way I fought was really... And he crumples over and just yells, shameful. And he's crying. And he pictures his little friends from the island. His, little kids and what's her face? I can't remember her name, guys, but because she's just rather boring, so it's fine. And he decides, you know what? I'm going to fucking do this, actually. And he stands up and yells to Ducklips, hold it, you damn fish. Which, look, Usopp, you can choose not to lie, and you can choose to engage in this fight with sincerity without completely, projecting your spot here, and also like telling him what weapon you're going to use and everything. Guys, he just decides to like engage in front-on combat. I would not have been mad if Usopp was like, you know what? I'm going to fight this guy, but I'm going to do it like sort of, guerrilla style. Now, don't get me wrong. Eventually he does start hiding behind trees and jumping out for sneak attacks and everything like that. But just facing this guy just straight up didn't seem like the best choice right now. And he's talking about his friends. Because they live risking their lives every day, they laugh so happily. That's why I decided to set out to the sea. I wanted to laugh from the bottom of my heart too. If I don't fight with all my might here, I won't have the right to be on board the same ship as them. I won't have the right to laugh from the bottom of my heart with them. And as he says this, he's pulling back his slingshot and releasing a rock or whatever it is that he's firing at him. And Duck Lips just fucking lays him out. I loved this so much because, every time that you have one of these sort of inspirational moments from characters, it's a real temptation to just be like, and then they were filled with such heart and vigor from their own like motivational speech that they gave that they suddenly became an amazing fighter. And the show isn't doing that. They're like, no, this is still Usopp we're talking about. He's going to do his best. And he's going to get lucky a couple of times. And I really respect that. I feel like especially like an 80s baby, I think I got a skewed idea of how much the right words would simply change me as a person and who I am. Do you guys know what I mean? Like, there are so many movies where if you get the right combination of words in a speech, it turns the tide of an entire war. Or if somebody says the right thing to you or you say the right thing to yourself, suddenly now you're an athlete training every day with no hesitation and complete commitment and discipline. And it's like a magic switch got turned. And I've just spent a lot of my life waiting for that to happen to me, waiting for those like magic moments, those perfect words to flip that switch. And it's taken me a long time to realize that that's just not how that works. So the thing that he does is he has a realization that he needs to just try his best or else he won't respect himself. And that is the key. That's something that I feel a lot of people don't have the presence of mind to stop and think about in heated moments. And I understand that. It's not an easy thing to sort of keep your mind on track. But it is something that I have considered at a couple different points in my life when I was up against a wall and I got to choose to sort of like pretend I didn't see something and walk away and allegedly maintain my peace of mind or the peace in general, but you're not really. Or I had the choice to jump in and mix it up and potentially be pretty uncomfortable and risk something. And I want to say that it's always just because I knew what the right thing to do was. But that's not the case. Sometimes what the right thing to do is very... It's foggy. And even then, even if you do know what the right thing is to do, that doesn't necessarily make it easy to do. You want that to be the sole motivating factor. That was the right thing to do. But what has motivated me has always been a piece of advice that I got. I must have been a teenager. And I don't remember who said it. I don't even remember if it was a teacher or something I saw on TV. But somebody said, think about looking back at this moment in 10 years and what you would wish you'd done. And that's it. Just looking back, because we all know there are moments in our lives that we look back on and we're like, I could have stood up for myself. I could have stood up for them. I can't believe I just didn't say anything. We know what that feels like, and we know what we feel like when we remember it. And it still is so painful, some of those memories, that I will do a lot to avoid feeling like that again. Even if I fail, I'd rather do something and have the memory of a failure than the embarrassing memory of being a coward, which is so much worse. And so, like, what you wish you had done in 10 years is just good advice about a lot of ways to live your life, about major decisions, taking risks in general. But moments like that, where it's tempting to just walk away because it'd be easier, that really has helped me take a stand at times where I might not have been able to do it otherwise. I wouldn't have had the foresight, you know? So it's about, like, fundamentally self-respect. That in 10 years, are you going to respect yourself more for taking the risk and maybe failing? Or are you going to respect yourself more for lying to your friends and telling them you fought a fight that you didn't, and coming up with a line while you rub dirt all over your skin? And, you know, he really has, like, a good head on his shoulders in this moment. He's looking at his friends and he's like, they are straight up living this. They're walking the walk. That's why they're so at ease so much of the time, is because they just don't, like, fuck around. And I want to be like that. So this is just, I really love this. I needed this. I loved it. So, like I said, he gets fucking laid out here. Duck Lips tells him, you should have just pretended to be dead. And Usopp from the ground says, I'm done. And he says, yeah, you're right. You're already done for. And then Usopp grabs a hammer out of his, like, little thing. And then Usopp rubber band of doom. And the guy cringes, and when he opens his eyes, Usopp is gone. Y'all, listen, I am not kidding. I used to have a rubber band, and I would love making people flinch. I would just do this, and people would do that it's a completely involuntary reaction. I don't care who you do it to. It never fails. I would do this exact thing all the time. When I saw him do this, and then he doesn't release it, it's just a ploy to get him to flinch and close his eyes, I hollered. This is exactly my jam, you guys. I must have been so annoying. I did that in, like, high school. You know, I was just, like, in class, and I would just do that to somebody and just giggle at the fact that they just went, oh my God, no! I didn't even make a motion like I was going to release it, but everybody has the same reaction to a rubber band. Never fails. I love this so much, and I love how Duckface is so infuriated with himself that he fell for this. And of course, later on, we have Hachi also falling for it. And I was just like, yeah, that sounds right. Look, everybody would fall for it. I'm not trying to say Hachi's a particular idiot, but it's just a thing. So then Usopp does something kind of genius. And he chucks a bottle of booze out there and then follows it right up with a rock to break the bottle so that this guy gets completely covered in booze. This dude bends over and begins to suck water out of... He's in like a rice paddy, I'm pretty sure. And he begins to suck water up, and he does a couple of different attacks with this. And they, like, take down trees. He does at one point a, like, machine gun style attack. It's really fun to actually see some use for these wild duck lips too. The fact that he can, like, siphon water up really quickly. We saw Hachi do this as well, but, you know, just needed to see this guy put that to some use. And I love too that this dude is constantly like, I can't believe that I have to fight this guy. Look at what a fucking idiot he is. At one point, Usopp leans way out from the trees and is looking around in awe. And then when Duck Lips begins to like do the machine gun, he's like, "Oh no, how did he know where I was?" Usopp, babe, he's a fish man. He's not a, I was about to say a Batman where he can't see, but Batman has too many connotations. And besides, I think I read somewhere that bats actually have pretty good eyesight and that our thing about them being blind is not even true. But anyway, so this is when he does the special attack with a fire star. And this dude being covered in booze, he lights up like a fucking torch and starts running looking for some water. Usopp collapses behind him on the ground after doing the fire star, and his like nose bends when he hits the ground. I found that to be such a funny detail. I actually thought that was pretty good. And then we have like the last moments of this fight. Usopp, he goes over to this dude and he gets, he says, "Usopp hammer, Usopp hammer, Usopp hammer, Usopp hammer, rubber band of doom, Usopp hammer, Usopp hammer." He says this like, I think 7 more times. And we go over and see this dude, and he is covered in lumps. And Usopp collapses in exhaustion and relief and sort of a moment probably of just being suffused with adrenaline and the sudden, like, release of all of that tension. Guys, him yelling Usopp hammer and it being interspersed with rubber band of doom, I don't know why. That just got to me. I loved this so much. And I love that you don't see it. He's yelling Usopp hammer and the camera, so to speak, is pointed at the sky the whole time, which makes it so much like... I kind of like the fact that even the animators were like, you know what? I don't think we need to see Usopp beating the shit out of an unconscious man laying on the ground helpless. That's we want him to do this. We know it's probably necessary, but we don't really want to see it. So why don't we just I think that was the right call. So now let's talk about Sanji's fight. Oh, and I should also mention that when Usopp eventually like comes back to the group at the end, that Arlong is just like, he beat Duck Lips? What the fuck? Arlong really was not ready for any of these people to be victorious at all. So when he sees that all of his dudes have been totally laid out, he is just disgusted. And also there's a bit of him that's sort of like, well, I'm going to, fight for like vengeance for them, Yeah, no, it's your pride. Just admit it's your pride. It's fine, buddy. We all know. So Sanji, I still can't get a handle, guys. This show wants to be like that human beings still need to breathe, but the show can't quite get a handle on how long a regular human being can go without oxygen. They just really go back and forth on that. There are times where it's like, if you're underwater for a minute, then you might be near drowned. And then there's like our guy Gensan, who is underwater since like the middle of last episode. As far as I can tell, there is no suggestion that he has come to the surface in that time at all. He's been underwater for 20 minutes. At least 20 minutes. And it's fine, evidently. That's fine. But then we have Sanji drop underwater. And he's under for maybe a minute before he begins to panic, saying, "I need oxygen, I need air, I need air." He begins to panic. And then he gets dragged down and spends another minute after being dragged down, continuing to fight, and doesn't seem to be as desperate for oxygen at the end as he was minutes earlier. It just, none of this makes sense. And I don't want it to irritate me as much as it does, but I can't lie to you guys. I wanted to let this go. I couldn't let it go. I'm sorry. It's just too inconsistent. It's all over the place with how long everybody can survive underwater. I just, Gabriella says, I've never seen anybody. Oh no, that's Alex. I've never seen someone not laugh at that moment. I'm assuming that's the Usopp hammer moment. Gabriella says it's anime rules. 20 minutes equals 10 seconds or time is irrelevant. Alex says anime has a problem with time in general. There's a famous 5 minutes from Dragon Ball Z that lasts like 40 episodes. No. Oh my God. Really? Oh my God, that would drive me fucking nuts. Dragon Ball Z is one of those shows that I'm like a little bit curious about. I follow several different pages that do cosplay because like one of my close friends, my maid of honor, actually, she does cosplay. She's amazing. Her shit is wild. She's got like tens of thousands of followers on TikTok. But there are a lot of Dragon Ball cosplays out there. It's like clearly very popular. And I have just never seen a single episode. And I know that it can be like super goofy and silly. But I am also like a little bit curious about it. But I kind of don't want to wade into it because it just seems like such vast waters. But anyway, Gabriella says you can just watch key moments and skip everything. I don't know how that, like, how do you do that? You know what? This is a chat for the Discord. Everybody go to the Discord and tell me which Dragon Ball episodes to watch. So Sanji, first of all, there's this great moment where this karate dude is underwater and he's like, are you really trying to fight me down here underwater in my domain? All right, fine. Fishman karate, dueling hair tether. And he turns and whips around and his ponytail wraps around Sanji. Now, there is no reason to assume that this man's ponytail is this long. We have not seen this the whole time, but it's fine. He uses it like a lasso. I was about to say a lasshole. A lasso. Wraps it around Sanji and draws Sanji towards him as he says, "What's that? The power of your kick dropped in half. That's the limit for humans, but Fishman Karate's power doesn't drop even in the water." Guys, is this man named Karate? Like, because he keeps saying Fishman Karate possessive in such a way that I'm like, it feels like he's doing like a third person, talking about himself. But it was just like, it's so wild to me that would be his name. I just couldn't really think that was what he was saying here. I had to be misunderstanding. But I don't know. Maybe that's what he's saying. I'm going to like sort of, speed this up, this description of this fight. But what it comes down to is eventually, like, Sanji is desperate for air. And this guy catches up with him as he's heading to the surface and says, well, human beings, you have issues when you like go into deep pressure too fast. So I think what I'm going to do is pull him down to the bottom, and all his organs are just going to essentially like explode inside him. What I really enjoy about this scene, and also this scene with Arlong later, where Arlong is looking at Luffy, there's always a moment, except with Usopp, I should say, but there tends to be, I won't say always, there tends to be a moment where the boss and mini boss are impressed, despite themselves, with their opponent. They always have that, like, how is he still fighting? How is he still standing? He does this with Zoro as well. And I don't know why, but because I know it's sort of a silly bit, but it's gratifying anyway. I really like it, you know. Let's see. Gabriella says his name is Kurubi. Fishman karate is just that, karate practiced by fishmen, but Kurubi is a weirdo. Okay, it was just like the way he was using it. It felt like he was talking about a person, you know, like saying Fishman karate is such and such, and it would be like Fishman karate's like apostrophe S. And I was just like, how is that? I mean, I guess if you're talking about like a practice, I suppose I could see it being something that can possess things, I guess. Anyway, so this is the moment for Kurubi, thank you for the name also, where he's looking at Sanji and is just like, man, I mean, you are an inferior species, but it is kind of wild that you're still out here fighting. Like, that's pretty impressive. Anyway, so this is when he grabs poor Sanji up and is like, you can't handle a sudden change in water pressure, so I think we're going to go straight to the bottom. And this is like, honestly, kind of a wild scientific concept that he keeps like going up and down just to fuck with him. And I was like, I didn't expect this sort of acknowledgement of like the physics of what pressure does to a human body to be part of things. But I kind of enjoy it being used as a weapon. It makes a lot of sense. It's creative. I was like, really? So he goes down and back up again. And then can you bear a second time? And this is where we have Sanji thinking things through in a way that I guess it's supposed to be that he knows this about fish because of being a cook and having to like fillet and cut fish, so he knows how their internal organs and bodies work. So he says a fish will die if air is shot into its bronchia. If you're also a fish, you'll feel the same pain. So he bites him, and I guess like breathes air into him. And it was a wild moment of like, I didn't really understand how this was supposed to work. I guess it's that he breathed air from his lungs through the hole. Regardless, they wind up like finishing this sort of out of the water. He winds up coming up and is just like, I can do this on land just as easily as underwater, so it's fine. And Sanji's like, yeah, but you forgot about my fucking kicks though. So now that we're on land, I still have the goddamn, like, I still have my weapon, and yours is significantly reduced. So then we get all of the kicks from Sanji. This is all French, right, guys? Because he's naming each of the kicks as he does them. So let's see. Your survival probability is 0. So let's see. Collier kicks him in the neck. And then my chivalry is naive. And epaulet as he spins. I can't protect anyone, you said? Cotelette, selle, poitrine. I don't know if I'm saying these right at all. Gigot. And is kicking this guy up and down the fucking street practically. And all of the townspeople are watching like, holy fucking balls. And then the son of a bitch, ultimate fist, 1,000 brick. And as he sails through the air, he says, mouton, shot. And punches this dude, kicks in the face so hard that the guy goes sailing right through the building, out through the back of it. I love the cut to Zoro's face throughout all of this. I love it. Zoro has a moment of just like, yeah, that's right. That's what I thought. It's a good bit. So he goes and puts his shoes back on very casually. And we have Arlong just standing around looking at all of his people who have been laid low. As Sanji says, "We've won this game." And Arlong says, "How dare you bastards beat my brothers one after the other?" And I'm like, well, you did just stand there and let them do it. So I don't know what you exactly thought they were going to do. This is the moment where Luffy begins to come back to himself. We have the switch off where, what's her face? Oh, I keep wanting to say Nakosi. Guys, help me with her sister's name again. And Gensan, they switch places. And I love that there is a moment where Luffy spits water up, and it's clear that he's coming back to himself, and he's on the other side of that wall, I guess. So Arlong just sees the water and is like, there was no fountain over there. And he's like, maybe it's that rubber man. Every time he calls him a rubber man, I find it really funny because just Luffy is so not a man to me. I really want him to just be rubber boy. But, he's a formidable enough opponent that seems fair. So this episode ends. Oh my God, I forgot about this thing with Arlong. Where is it? I'm forgetting how this starts off. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, right. Okay. So we have, thank you, Nojiko. She goes down there to try and pump the water out of Luffy's lungs, and is also hoping that somebody is going to be able to get the rocks off from around his feet. And we see Sanji and Zoro having been laid low, and the townspeople all being like, what did he just do to them? As soon as he shot water, they both vomited blood and flew through the air. And then we see Arlong say, "I can kill humans by you without even directly touching you, if I have some water." That's the difference between fishmen and humans. What? And he says that's the difference between fishmen and humans. They all have this ability, but did they, it's just meant to be, I guess, that in, the water in his hand is the same as when it was, being shot out of Hachi's mouth or Ducklips's mouth? Gabriella in the chat says that Sanji's what he's saying when he's kicking is just the body part he just hit. Oh, okay. That's amazing. Thank you. Okay, that makes sense. But Sanji says just a water shooting game to him is like a shotgun shot to us. So this is the power of a shark. Okay, but somebody else follows up with he's in a class by himself among fishmen. All right, so that is not necessarily an ability that all fishmen have. Okay, good. I'm glad to have that clarified, because I was when he says that's the power fishmen have, I'm then why haven't any of the other ones used that? But they can use a kind of a version of it with spitting from their mouths. I mean, Ducklips was able to knock down a bunch of trees with it, but I just couldn't understand how that would work. So anyway, the episode ends with him saying I'm going to completely end you. And then Nami walking through the gate, and he says, "What did you come here for?" And she, looking out from underneath the brim of Luffy's hat, says, "To kill you." And then it's "to be continued" next episode. I feel Luffy coming back to life, or so to speak. I already talked about him spitting up the water, but we also get Sanji jumping in and kicking the rock away from his feet midpoint next episode. Also, there's a lot of Arlong standing around laughing, and I don't know what it is about this guy's laugh, but it is the weirdest thing. And every time he starts to laugh, there's something about... The laugh has like a consonant in it, in a way that constantly makes me think that he's about to say a word. And then it turns out that he's laughing. And he's talking to Nami and saying, you humans must know that you can't kill me. Nami, you're going to be my surveyor forever. I'm not going to let you go. If possible, I want you to be our surveyor of your own free will. But if you don't, and he says, so how about this? I'll be killing everyone here except you. And as he is saying all of this, the camera keeps cutting to a spider in a web and a moth that has been caught in the web. And he says, but if you come back willingly, I don't mind letting those people live. And he says specifically, the people from Kokayashi village. But I can't let these guys live. So he's like, you can come back, but I'm definitely still going to kill your friends. The people from your village, the ones that are your people, originally, okay, fine. I'll let them go, but I swear to God, I'm about to fuck these guys right up because screw them. And I was kind of glad to see that he was that specific at least, because I was like, he can't be just letting this go, right? He is not. In the manga, his laugh was written sha-ha-ha, says Alex. So that's what the voice actor does in the anime, too. That's what it is. It's the sha. Okay. Because, yeah, every time he started to laugh, I thought he was saying something. And then I'd be like, God damn it, it's just him laughing again. Jesus Christ. And he laughs a lot. You either take my side now and get saved along with the villagers, or be on these weaklings' side and try fighting against me with everyone. But with these guys, you depend on in this shape. It's obvious it'll be a tragedy for you. And he's pointing to Zoro and Sanji, who are just laid out, covered in blood, cuts, etc. Are you my friend or their friend? And that was the wrong way to phrase the thing. And there is this great bit here. I love this so much, you guys. She's deciding what she's going to say. And we see the moth get trapped in the web. And the spider begin walking over to the moth. And she finally, she has all the memories pass through her mind of what went down with Luffy. And all of a sudden, she turns to everybody and she says, I'm sorry, everyone. And she's depending on Luffy in her memory, saying that he would help. And everyone, I'm sorry. Please die with me. And then the spider web gets a break in it and the moth escapes. I love this so much. You guys, those of you who listen to Dresden Files and have read those books, this is also a thing that happens a little bit with Harry. He, in the first few books, is so bent on trying to protect people that he doesn't give them all the information that they need to make informed decisions, because he's so sure that they can't handle themselves. And, to a degree, he has magic powers, and they don't sometimes, but they are smart, and he doesn't give them that kind of credit. And what if he comes around to in later books is finally beginning to give people the chance to choose for themselves if they want to live or die. Choosing for themselves whether they want to get involved, and laying all of his cards on the table and treating them as equals. And I think that is such an important thing to do as you get older, is to recognize everyone else's agency. And you may want to protect people or, stop folks from making bad decisions. I'm sure parents go through this with their kids. And to a degree, that's what life is making bad decisions and learning from them. And sometimes you make good decisions and you learn from those too. But you learn from everything. And it can just be really hard to watch somebody make mistakes or do something that's going to get them hurt. And letting them is respectful. You know what I mean? So this moment for Nami of being like, you guys, I have to assume, have cared about me enough that you aren't going to want me to just go into his service. And you all were clearly ready to throw down with this motherfucker earlier, a couple of episodes ago. So I am going to hope that you still carry that same energy and that you are going to go in on this with me whole hog. And she is correct. As soon as she's like, please die with me, everybody is like, fucking A. Yes, we will. It's a very good moment. I enjoyed this a whole lot. And I love Arlong too, just being like, fine. He's so cranky. The expression on his face here just cracked me up so bad. So as this drama is unfolding, Sanji goes down. He releases Luffy's feet. Luffy spits up a bunch of water also. And guys, I love this because I was sort of wondering what was going to happen here. But we've got Gensan up on the surface and he is holding Luffy's head. And I was thinking to myself, what's going to happen when you release his feet? Is he just going to rubber band his way back up? And the answer is, yes, indeed, he is. This is also when not Luffy, Usopp shows back up again as well. And Zoro gets up and begins to sort of go up against Arlong. And fucking Zoro is in some bad shape, guys. Zoro tries to sword fight Arlong's nose. I didn't know I wanted this until I saw it. A sword fighting with his nose is the silliest fucking thing. And I'm 100% here for it. He keeps getting stabbed. And he thought he could cut right through Arlong's nose. Not so. Just the whole way that this goes down and how taken aback everybody is as well, because there's a bunch of moments where, people apparently think this shit is going to work, because why wouldn't you? And it just keeps being a surprise to them that, oh yeah, that's not how that works. Later on, Arlong, tries to bite Luffy, who dodges out of the way, and he just clamps his teeth around a pillar. And everybody for a second is like, that idiot. And Arlong's teeth just go, first of all, right through the pillar, but then also collapse half the building, which I just have to think is not really great for anybody. But, okay, I suppose. So while they're fighting, there's the moment where Nojiko she has headed to the surface. I'm getting all of these kind of mixed up with one another, but nevertheless, she is heading to the surface, and Hachi comes down and he is about to beat the shit out of her as she heads straight for him. And on the surface, Zoro is fighting Arlong and says something like, if you stay put, your wounds won't open. And he's smiling to himself. And the smiling and the look in his eye, this is the moment where Arlong is like, what the fuck is up with this guy? He looks like he should be dying. And yet, how can you be walking around? He removes his bandages too. And looks genuinely shocked at the injury when he pulls the bandages off. Guys, hold on. Oh man, I forgot. I'm on Safari, so I can't screen share with you. The picture of the brothers on the sidelines at that moment after his bandages get ripped off. The animation of the two of them is so funny. One of them is just doing the like jaw drop thing with his hands like straight out to the side screaming. And right behind him in profile is his brother with his arms wrapped across himself. And he's just like rocking in place crying. That is so good. So yeah, this is the Mihawk injury. And this is when Arlong is just like, that shit should have killed you. How can he even still be alive? What the fuck? And this is when you really get the vibe that like he realizes that he is messing with somebody that he doesn't really understand. So this is when Zoro starts to smile and says, your injuries won't open if you don't move. And then the camera cuts to Hachi, who is, you know, heading straight down, violently punching the water. And all of a sudden, all of his injuries open at the same time. The water fills with blood, and he just basically comes to a complete screeching halt. As that is happening, this is when Luffy's body begins to shoot back up towards the surface. And it's really weird. The scene is Gensun holding Luffy's head above the water, gripping it and gritting his teeth, going, "Is it coming, kid?" And Luffy saying, "It's coming!" And it is, for all the world, looks like this guy is giving birth to Luffy right here. I have to think that that's intentional, right? Luffy's head is between his legs and they're both screaming. It really feels like this is like he's giving birth here. So yeah, Luffy's body goes catapulting into the air. Very satisfying. Like I said, I was sort of wondering what would happen with his neck all stretched out like that. And I'm so happy to see how this ends. It's him just cartwheeling in the air, yelling, "I'm back!" And everybody on the ground cheering as they watch him sail through the sky. Usopp literally like falls backward off the balcony in ecstasy in the moment. And Gensun just falls backward like, oh, thank God that's over. While Arlong is like, this fucking rubber idiot. And Zoro is just like, you're really late. And as he says you're late, Luffy grabs Zoro, yanks him out of Arlong's hands, and catapults him back and says, let's switch places, and takes his spot. Dude, you just killed your friend. Like, I know he didn't really, but he definitely would have killed him. You just threw him 90 feet into the air. What are you doing, Luffy? And the rest of the crowd that's been cheering him for being back is like, what the fuck? So he comes down and headbutts Arlong in the head, does like a roundhouse kick, and just basically comes in full steam ahead, absolutely going for it, 100%. And Arlong at first just sort of takes it. This is what the show tends to do, is we have the initial assault of our bad guy, and it really looks like he's going down. And then he comes back and it's just like, you thought you were doing something, didn't you? And that is when we get the whole, like clamping his jaws around a pillar and bringing the entire building down. Oh my God, guys. And there's this moment where Luffy is stretching while Arlong is like giving this speech about how you human worms taking down my brothers is an insult. And his stretching, he's like practically unaware Arlong is even there. Luffy is just so weird. I really like him, but what the fuck, man? You know? And I love on the sidelines the two brothers, like, Johnny is just like, how far did Big Brother Zoro fly? Where is he? What's happening? I was like, asking the right questions. At least somebody's focused on the right shit. Oh my God, I forgot that there's a moment where Sanji is desperately trying to light a cigarette, but his matches are all wet, so he can't light it. And this is when he says, if Luffy loses, then you guys are screwed. And Nojiko says, if that happens, it's the end of the East Blue too. And I was like, I mean, maybe, but also Nami is still here. So I kind of want Nami to pull this one out for us if possible. I would really like this. Then we get this beautiful bit. Arlong asks Luffy, what's the terrifying difference between you and me? Luffy says, nose. Pause. Zero in a little bit. We just get a close up. And then jaw. Oh my God. Brothers say, is he joking? No, he's definitely serious. And then he just comes in and says, webs. I swear to God, I love this so much. So now Arlong comes at him, teeth first, like a fucking shark. And this is the first time you really see Luffy be like, Jesus Christ, and back away from him like, fuck, 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 fuck. And then we have the collapse of the building, and Arlong standing there being like, I really did that. You're scared now. And the episode ends with Luffy saying, no way I'll lose to a fish. I'm the man who'll be king of the pirates. And that's the end of the episode. What a weird spot to end. Luffy, never change. All right, I gotta wrap this up. I'm over time as usual. But those were really fun. I'm very much looking forward to the next 2 episodes. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you again to Florian for commissioning this. I'm sure you're asleep right now, but we're thinking of you. And I will see you guys again soon with a new episode. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.